Happy New Year. By Jove, it is 2024. We made it. I'm gonna be 20 this year, which means it is almost time for me to retire. Seeing as how I will be admitted to the nursing home momentarily, I figured that it would be a fantastic idea to reminisce and take a look back at all of the fantastic games that I played during my childhood. Now hold on just a second, says my audience of mostly 25-year-olds. Do kids born after 1999 even have brains? Are they even capable of coherent thought? No, but the last 4 years have been atrocious. Let us have this. Let us pretend to be adults, man. Come on. Holing yourself up in a basement with nothing to eat but fucking eggs and hot sauce. It does something to you, man. No amount of cardigans or sweaters is gonna undo the damage. Not gonna undo the damage. And I guarantee that if you had to sit in your room with nothing but your Game Boys or your Pogs or your Beanie Babies or whatever for like 8 weeks, that you'd have a couple screws loose too. So in either case, I'm gonna be going back through the old catalogs and figuring out what games really stood out and ranking them categorically based on how good I thought the memory was, how valuable it was to me as a kid. And there might be some hot takes in here. There might be a couple hot takes, and if you don't agree with it, that's okay. Just tell me about it, please. So if this does well, then, you know, maybe I'll consider making another one with some of your guys' suggestions or whatever. But in any case, let's get right into it. So we're here. I got the list. These are the games. I think there's really no better place to start than with Grand Theft Auto 5. Everybody who was born in 2004, I think, can collectively agree that we all gained consciousness in 2012, right when GTA 5 started to get, like, crazy marketed. I remember I'd be on the playground and there'd be this kid, Tyler, and he would show up and he would tell everyone about how his divorced dad was going to buy him a copy of GTA 5 when it came out, and we would go nuts. I mean, guns, cars, money, boobs. That's everything that a prepubescent boy thinks is important in the world. I remember hauling my dad to GameStop and trying to get him to buy me this super cool racing game, and the cashier was absolutely calling me on my bullshit and telling my dad about all of the heinous things that happen in this video game. But my father, being the absolute G that he was, could not care less. Bought me the game. We brought it home. We booted it up, and my mind exploded. My mind absolutely exploded. I think even today, I could probably spend like 8,000 hours fending off hordes of enemy combatants, trying to save the world, or at least that's what it felt like in my imagination at the time. Really, I was just mowing down civilians with a minigun outside of a hospital. One day, I'm sure, many years from now, I will completely forget the name of my firstborn child, but if you hand my 95-year-old dementia-ridden ass an Xbox 360 controller, I will remember all of those cheat codes. I will be going God mode, I will be going explosive ammo, Skyfall, and we're spawning a comet in there too. Absolutely S tier. Absolutely S tier game. Okay, so next up, we're going to talk about Terraria. So Terraria is probably one of my most favorite games of all time. I have thousands of hours in Terraria across every single console to ever exist, okay? I think the first time I ever played Terraria was on a Kindle Fire, sitting in like the back of my mom's car, just scrolling through the Amazon App Store or whatever. The tutorial world came with like a bunch of secrets and stuff, and since, you know, we couldn't afford the real version, that's all I had, and so I would just sit on the tutorial world for hours and just run around and try looking for things, and I found almost all the secrets. Terraria was probably one of the first games I bought in 2013 when it came out on console. And despite it being like my favorite game of all time, I kind of hated it on console. I really didn't like have a super good time because every time I would get anywhere, my friends would come over to my worlds and just dump all of their end game gear in there and like dupe it, and it killed everything for me. Of course, now I have like an incredible appreciation for the game and I play it all the time. Now I'm pretty much like a living, breathing Terraria Wikipedia, but back then I just remember the game sucked major dookie. I'm gonna have to go with the controversial opinion of putting Terraria as a C-tier memory, unfortunately. Please do not kill me. Okay, when they started running ads for Call of Duty Black Ops 2 back in 2012, all of my friends and I sat at my parents' knees and begged for this game. We all wanted to play Black Ops 2. It was super cool. When I got the game, the campaign was crazy. It was insane. The mission where you scout out the enemy with woods using a pair of binoculars before having that badass cavalry charge. That huge open desert in that level is honestly how they should have done the open combat missions in Modern Warfare 3. You are lying if you say that Black Ops 2 isn't currently becoming a reality with the drones and the... I mean, have you ever seen a Harrier jump jet? A Harrier jump jet is literally what you flew around on for a large portion of that game. Black Ops 2 was a blast, but you know, my family was poor, so I didn't have Xbox Live, and I didn't have access to any of the DLCs. So 95% of the time, I would be playing Nuketown Bots 1v10 or Town Zombies. If I wanted to play any DLC or like online or anything, I would have to waddle to the cul-de-sac my friend Nathan lived on to play Mob of the Dead and eat Dominoes in his basement. On the off chance I would have Xbox Live from like a gift card for Christmas or whatever, I would fondly remember sitting in a lobby with 4 of my other friends just trying to hit trick shots on each other for like hours. A-tier game. Next up is going to be Uncharted: Drake's Fortune. Now this game is a little bit older. This came out in 2008, 2007? Uncharted was the first PlayStation 3 game that I had ever played, and was the first time that I had ever played a T-rated game. I was not a teenager. The game looked really pretty to me back then. I liked looking at the waterfalls. Sully's fake-out death really got my pampers in a twist, and I carried that burning desire for vengeance with me through every playthrough. Some of the levels were kind of frustrating to me as a borderline infant, and the alien zombie mutant thingies gave me nightmares. I'm gonna give Uncharted a C tier because it doesn't stand out to me as a particularly good time. It was just kind of a time that I remember. I'd say Terraria is still definitely a better memory than Uncharted just because of how milquetoast my memory of Uncharted actually is. And next up is Skate. Now, I actually played like all the Skate games, Skate 1, 2, 3 as a kid, so this is kind of just jumping them all in one, but it was such a good time. The only catch was I didn't actually own Skate, so I only really had a chance to play when I went to my badass butch lesbian aunt's house. I would pull a coffin going down the world's steepest and most impractical road and reach Mach 7. I could probably do that again and again and again forever. I only ever stopped doing that when the pizza delivery guy showed up and my aunt popped in the complete first season of the Andy Milanaka show on DVD. Every time I listen to Surrender, I think about hitting a nasty kickflip or watching a man break every bone in his body to my utmost sadistic pleasure. The grainy image and camcorder LEDs effect made me feel like I was a rule-breaking rebel who regularly disobeyed the law. I could never actually do any other trick other than the coffin, though. I didn't care to. Skate is absolutely B tier. Okay, so this next one is SpiderManShattered Dimensions. I don't know if you guys have played this before. It was kind of a niche game back when it came out. Between like half a dozen playthroughs of SpiderManShattered Dimensions, this game has probably had like the craziest effect on my sense of humor, because that's kind of what the entire game is. It's a Spider-Man comedy game. I was a Spider-Man fiend as a child. I had this muscle Spider-Man suit that I wore around literally everywhere. I wore it to the store, I wore it to school, I wore it to family outings. So in SpiderManShattered Dimensions, you play as 4 different Spider-Men, in 4 different universes, complete with their own art styles, gameplay features, skill trees, villains, voice actors, everything. Did I mention they got Neil Patrick Harris and Josh Keaton to voice 2 of the Spider-Men? It was also pretty much the inspiration for the Spider-Verse movies in a roundabout way. The story is a bit straightforward and a little cheesy, but to be completely honest, I was not old enough and had not absorbed enough media to discern what cheesy meant, so it gets a pass for that. Shattered Dimensions sits solidly in B tier. I think it'd be a little bit higher if it was a bit more imaginative and kind of made me use my brain, but I think B tier is still a solid place to sit. Alright, Payday 2. Ooh. Payday 2 is another game that I play like a lot now. I love Payday 2, it's such a good game. But when Payday 2 came out, I played it at my friend's house on his Xbox 360, and I remember being sad. Just sad. I was promised sick heist with intense action, and what I got was just not good. The console port of Payday 2 was infamously undercared for, and Overkill never gave it the care it deserved. I was seriously excited to play it as a tiny child, but I don't have a single standout happy memory of the game. Of course, now, I love Payday 2, and with the absolute flop that was Payday 3, I don't think I ever want to play a Payday game besides the second one, ever again. The game was terrible back then, though, so, F tier. Madagascar for the PS2. I only have one memory of this game, and it's going over to my aunt's house and playing this, and then they stopped me from playing it and then forced me to eat a bunch of sauerkraut to continue playing. It gets D tier. Wii Sports Resort. The original Wii was a legendary console. I have so many fond memories of gathering around the Wii at the family reunion as my older cousins passed around the remotes, and one of my favorite games to play was Wii Sports Resort. I could take on anyone in the sword fight game. I was unstoppable. I was a beast in archery, my biking skills were unmatched, and at the end of the day, I could always unwind by flying that plane around the island. It was awesome. It was a fantastic time, and one of the very few games that I got to play with like my actual family, so not much else to say. It goes in B tier. Keeping with the theme of Wii is Super Mario Galaxy. Super Mario Galaxy is like an absolute classic. If you were into Super Mario Galaxy when it was popular, you probably know the super intense intro sequence. Always had my heart pumping and super ready to get into the game. There's probably not too many moments in video games that compare to flying between planets and trying to catch all the little star bits floating around with your Wii remote. Easy A tier. Easy A tier. Absolute childhood staple. Do you guys remember the Xbox Live indie games? So realistically, dude, I could probably make like an hour-long video about just the Xbox Live indie games because there's so many hidden gems in there and also a couple of hidden turds. But being the broke bitch I was in 4th grade, these games were an absolute lifesaver. They were sprinkled throughout my entire Xbox library like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups in a stocking on Christmas morning. You've got absolute classics in there like Castle Miner Z, 20 Games, Deadberg, Avatar Warfare, Murder Miners, which is getting a sequel, by the way, and Xenominer. Xenominer in particular is one that I spent a huge chunk of time playing, and it was surprisingly pretty fleshed out with suit upgrades that let you walk on walls, a radiation mechanic, guns to build, and a tiny alien robot thing that you can program to do things using an indecipherable alien language. Like I said, I won't go crazy into it in this video, but if any of these games interest you, let me know and I can talk about them more later. Xbox Live indie games certainly get a B tier rating. Okay, so Gary's Mod absolutely changed me forever.
Actually, I don't. That's just come with the stuff you want, like iTunes, iMovie, iPhoto, iWeb. I don't give a shit!
I remember watching Vanoss play Gary's Mod every single day of my life for years, and all I ever wanted to do was recreate the fun shenanigans that he had with his friends. I begged my mom for a computer for so long because I wanted to be a part of the elite few who owned a PC, because in 2014, it felt like they ruled the world. Gary's Mod was like this generation-defining thing that I felt like I was missing out on by being a console loser. And one Christmas, my mom, bless her heart, gave me her old Junker Asus notebook that my dad had upgraded. Thankfully, Gary's Mod ran on just about anything, and it felt like in a small way I had finally transcended into the upper echelon of gamers. 3 years later, I saved up enough money to buy a real desktop, and now we're here, making videos on a computer that I just built last summer. Gary's Mod goes in S tier. Now, Little Big Planet 2 was a game that I was super into when I was little, like 6 years old. It was my absolute jam. I remember I went on a week-long cruise to Mexico around that time, and one day while I was in the onboard daycare or whatever, they told us that we were going to have a game day. Now, my introverted self would always be hogging the PS3 to the point where the staff had to forcibly remove me from the game so that other kids could play. When I found out that I had a whole 3 hours to play Little Big Planet, I remember doing the 6-year-old equivalent of whatever a backflip was. A handstand, a cartwheel, whatever. Little Big Planet was special to me because it was my first experience of the internet culture. There were hundreds of user-created maps, and keep in mind, it was 2011. A lot of the fan-made stuff was recreations of Happy Wheels levels or creepypasta stories. If it hadn't been for Little Big Planet, I may not have discovered what YouTube was, or when I did. And I owe it a lot for that. Little Big Planet is an S-tier game. Alright, we gotta talk about Wizard 101. We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this game that I wanted to love. I wanted to love Wizard 101 so bad. I downloaded it on my Mima's laptop when she wasn't looking, and she was convinced that I had given her computer some sort of incurable supervirus that was going to spell the end of our family bloodline. The only disease this game came with was the paywall. I stopped playing very quickly when I found out that I was locked to the city like a prisoner of war, and I had never been more upset to leave all that progress behind. This game goes in C tier. Sadly, I wish it could be higher, but it just wasn't fun for me. Toontown Online. Toontown Online taught an entire generation of children to band together as a single, united proletariat and fight against the unregulated rule of hyper-capitalist oligarchs using cream pies. I actually like Toontown a lot, and I downloaded it onto the same laptop as Wizard 101. On second thought, maybe my Mimo was right about the viruses. I was very quick to download anything that had a download button on it.
You won. Congrats.
I gotta put Toontown in B tier, because it was a good time, but I didn't play it all that much. And if I had been any more into it, there's a good chance I would have become a furry. I think Poptropica is one of those games that I was kind of too young to fully appreciate at the time. I only had a slight amount of time with it, and the times I did play, it was just very unremarkable, and I did not know what all the hype was about. The few times I did play this game, I don't have any standout memories, and I gotta be careful here because I know there's gonna be an entire army of Poptropica stans waiting outside my door to stab me in the neck for this. So I'll stay here that I'm sure lots of people had a great time with it. I'm sure that it was a great time, and the things I say here, it's in no way a reflection of the game's actual quality. Thank you for your hard work and dedication, Jeff Kinney, but it wasn't for me. I gotta put it in D tier. And for our very, very last game, do you guys remember Survive the Disasters? The Hood. Minion obbies? Tycoons with Kevin MacLeod blaring so loud that it wakes up your mom? Roblox is like still a super big thing, but for every old fart like myself, there was just something special about the Roblox of ye olden times that made it different. Maybe it was just the freshness of everything, maybe it was the piss-poor quality of the games and graphics, maybe it's some other third thing. Time period when I played Roblox will be fondly remembered, and I still play it occasionally today. But yeah, that's the list. There it is. Hopefully you found something you liked. Hopefully you agreed with something I said. If you didn't, go leave a comment and tell me. That would make me really upset. But yeah, like I said, there's so many things in this list that could have gone in here. I just had to round out a couple of the ones that I played. I could totally do a part 2 on this. I could totally do a part 3 or 4 or 5. It's limitless at this point.